Animal Crossing Switch is probably the most talked about upcoming Nintendo Switch game. Even though we don't know much of anything about the game, people are still incredibly excited for it to come out. And that makes sense, because Animal Crossing is one of Nintendo's most popular and beloved series, and the return to home consoles for the first time since the Wii could mean the best and most ambitious Animal Crossing game ever. So of course, I've come here today to tell you about some really bad ideas for it. Okay, maybe not really bad ones, but really weird ones. But yeah, probably, honestly, pretty bad ones. I'm not exactly known for my amazing ideas. Stock Pikmin. A while back, I made a video discussing what Animal Crossing Switch should be, and a lot of people talked about what they thought it should be. And this might sound like a similar idea, but instead of talking about what Animal Crossing Switch could do to be really good, I pretty much just want to talk about how to make it really stupid. So if you're ready for a bunch of incredibly useless and dumb ideas about how to make Animal Crossing Switch a monstrosity, because you're just that desperate to hear anything you can about Animal Crossing Switch, then you've come to the right place. For the rest of you, this is just going to be a waste of time though, just putting that out there. Hello all 1,525 of you, I'm Redkwan, and here are 5 crazy ideas for Animal Crossing Switch. My first idea is a little something I like to call Plant and Animal Crossing. It's a little thing I like to call dumb. Brian, cut me some slack, alright? Now I don't know if you know this, but in addition to animals, there's this type of living thing called plants. And wouldn't Animal Crossing just be that much more amazing if there were plant villagers as well as animal villagers? You could finally have a Douglas fir as a neighbor, right? I mean, we're all thinking it, but wait, hear me out. I know plants aren't as cute as animals, and they would be pretty hard to make without looking like they came straight out of a second-rate animated kids movie, but here's the thing, right? People spend a lot of time in their Animal Crossing towns, and they come to appreciate a lot of the smaller aspects of it. But at the same time, the animal villagers seem like the only really alive part of the place. Everything else just sort of comes as it is, and that's just how it's gonna be. There isn't much outside of the villagers that has the ability to create any meaningful connection or memory for players. But like, what if when plant villagers moved out, they actually just became like an actual plant in your town? Now instead of shaking some arbitrary tree for fruit, you'll be strangling your old neighbor Dan. Okay, can I stop pretending like this is a good idea? Thank goodness. Oh, and we could get the Bacteria Kingdom as DLC. So now that we know just how low of a bar I'm using here, it's time for my second idea. Animal Crossing, but with a first-person shooter campaign. Now hear me out. What makes Animal Crossing so appealing? Is it the ladder shades? No. Is it the connection you have to the town plants? Not yet, at least. Is it the board game spin-off on the Wii U? Surprisingly, no. I think what it is the ability to escape into a peaceful and cozy small town where you can pass the time and interact with the other villagers. What does that have to do with the first-person shooter campaign mode? Good question. Oh, did you expect me to answer that? I mean, honestly, there's not really any connection. This idea isn't, like, well thought out or something. Who do you think you're watching here? Don't you know that Redkwan has no baseline quality standards? But here's where I actually think it'd be kinda cool. Obviously, with Animal Crossing, a first-person shooter campaign would still be very laid-back and lighthearted, but I feel like Animal Crossing is missing a lot of this type of stuff. I mean, obviously, this is a little weird and extreme, but from what I've seen, some people really get into Animal Crossing and can just play it forever. And some people like it, but lose interest because while they like the idea, the concept is a little too mundane to keep them interested. But if you throw in some short, completely optional adventure mode, I think it could go a long way in keeping it more interesting for more people for a longer time. And I'm sure it could still be done in a way that fits Animal Crossing. Probably. Also, what if you could do it with a couple villagers from your town? The villagers are the main characters in the game, and you're expected to interact with them, but there aren't exactly a ton of fun ways to interact with these guys. Why not have them at your side in a first-person shooter campaign? Dang, I have to do 3 more of these. My third crazy dumb idea for Animal Crossing Switch is Animal Crossing, but no one has hands. Remember how you were shooting stuff before? Well, just stop doing that now, because you don't have hands. Now hear me out. Animal Crossing, but no one has hands, is the clear next step in the evolution of the series. I know, hands can be pretty useful in Animal Crossing. The villagers want stuff, Tom Nook wants money, and you want to interact with the various things in the world. Without hands, that all becomes pretty difficult, if not impossible. But the advantage is that without hands, the gameplay dynamic completely shifts. Not only are you not expected to pay anything back to any villagers, because there's no way they can expect you to rake in the dough without hands, but now you fit in with all the animals in town because they also don't really seem to have hands. Also, your arms almost become like mini swords or something. You can have like a arm sword fight. Yeah. Because none of the animals need hands to operate, instead of a community leader, you'll basically become dependent on the animals in your town, and they'll do favors for you instead of the other way around. Now that's pretty cool. Yeah. Idea 4. Animal Crossing, but instead of a town, we all live in a suburban apartment complex. Now hear me out. What's the one thing Animal Crossing is missing? Conflict. And what's a better way to start conflict than having an apartment complex? You and all the other animals could live on the same floor of the complex, and you could have an obnoxious landlord, and you'd all be in it together. If this sounds like gibberish, that's probably because I'm really tired while writing this. Now, I know a lot of the appeal of a game like Animal Crossing is that it's just a cozy little small town, and I understand that you would think this would ruin that feel. But on the contrary, this thing takes place entirely inside of one building, so that's pretty cozy. And I don't know, you can plant some stuff in the hallways or something. I'm just going to move on to the next idea because I feel like this one's going nowhere. And my final idea for Animal Crossing Switch is Animal Crossing, but with robbery. Actually, never mind. We'll do Animal Crossing, but it's open world. With robbery. Now, hear me out. It's nice to have an Animal Crossing town to call your own, but there's only so much you can do with it. On the other hand, an Animal Crossing small country to call your own offers a lot more freedom. Of course, to preserve the small town feel, your main town would be pretty closed off from the world, but there would be several other towns and cool locations around the world that you could visit or buy a house in. Also, imagine how much more interesting it could make the search for collectibles for the museum and such. Also, you know how villagers sometimes have things you want? Robbery. Well, those are my 5 crazy ideas for Animal Crossing Switch. I know I was making a case for them when I was talking about them, but in all seriousness, they would all be pretty awful. Especially the nobody has hands one. That one doesn't even make sense. So what have we learned here today? That hands are pretty useful, that Redkwan should never be let anywhere near video game development, and insert inspirational message here. Well, I'm Redkwan. What are some crazy ideas you have for Animal Crossing Switch? Or normal ideas? The crazy ones haven't exactly been turning out well so far. Was this video completely and thoroughly a waste of time? I said it would be at the beginning, but no, you just had to watch it to the end. Unbelievable. Anyways, I'm Redkwan. Thank you all for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all later. Goodbye.